We start our story with a classic romance trope: a handsome duke, a beautiful lady, and a sword through the gut. That's right, folks. Here we have our female lead, Bianca, looking absolutely delusional as she stares at her fiancé, Ricardo. She thinks she is saving him by poisoning his lover, Maria, but Ricardo isn't having any of it. Instead of a thank you kiss, she gets the sharp end of his blade. As the life drains out of her, she still thinks this is some twisted form of salvation. Talk about a toxic relationship. But wait. Just as things get bloody, Bianca jolts awake in her luxurious bed, sweating like she just ran a marathon. It turns out it was just a nightmare, or was it? Her maid tries to check on her, but Bianca, channeling her inner diva, screams at the poor girl to get out. Clearly, waking up from being murdered doesn't put you in the best mood. Now, here is where things get spicy. Bianca calms down and looks at a book she bought, titled Story of the Splendor Empire. She thought she was buying a boring history textbook to look smart, but surprise! It is actually a trashy romance novel. And the main character? It is her fiancé, Ricardo Winkaser. But the real kicker is that Bianca isn't the heroine of this story. Oh no, she reads the fine print and realizes she is the villainess destined to be beheaded. Let's break down the stats of our girl. She is Bianca Crawford, the only child of a super prestigious Marquis family. She is rich, she is powerful, and she is widely considered one of the top beauties in the entire empire. Basically, she has everything going for her, except for the plot armor. In this world, status is everything, and she sits right at the top, which makes her eventual downfall even more humiliating. So, if Bianca is the villain, who is the hero? Enter Maria. She is the classic lowly but kind protagonist and illegitimate child from the countryside who captures the Duke's heart. Bianca admits Maria is beautiful but calls her uncultured. But here is the funny part: the book isn't just a romance, it is a steamy one. It portrays Ricardo as a man of passion who is constantly all over Maria. And Bianca? She admits she read those specific scenes over and over again, purely for analysis, of course. Back to reality. We cut to a beautiful garden tea party where Bianca is sitting across from the man of her nightmares, Ricardo Winkaser. Look at this guy. Broad shoulders, long legs, handsome face, he is literally the perfect specimen. Bianca is sipping her tea, trying not to drool over his deep voice, while simultaneously remembering that this perfect man is destined to slice her open. The problem is, the Ricardo in front of her is nothing like the passionate beast in the novel. He is as cold as ice. He treats their engagement exactly for what it is, a business transaction between two powerful families. He doesn't hate her, but he definitely doesn't look at her the way he looks at Maria in the book illustrations. It is just empty. Bianca decides to test the waters. She needs to know if he is capable of murder. So, casually, over tea and cake, she asks, "Under what circumstances would you kill someone?" You know, normal couple conversation. Ricardo, probably wondering if she forgot her meds, answers logically, ideally, during a war. But Bianca pushes harder. She asks, "When would you kill someone outside of war?" Ricardo gives the answer that seals her fate. He says he would only kill a person if they harmed someone dear to his heart. Bingo! In the book, Bianca gets jealous, tries to kill Maria, and Ricardo kills Bianca in retaliation. The prophecy is confirmed. Hearing this straight from the horse's mouth sends Bianca into a full-blown internal panic attack. She starts trembling so hard the teacups rattle. Her face goes pale. She realizes that the man sitting across from her, looking all dashing and calm, is a dormant volcano waiting to erupt and destroy her. Ricardo notices she is acting weird, first blushing, now looking like a ghost. For a split second, Bianca hopes he is worried about her, just like the romantic lead in the book. But nope. He coldly tells her to go home and get some rest. He basically kicks her out. So much for romance. Bianca isn't going down without a fight. She rushes back to the bookstore where she bought the cursed novel. She slams the book on the counter and demands to know who wrote this trash. She needs answers. But here comes the twist. The shopkeeper looks at the book and says, "We didn't sell this." He points out there is no store tag on it. He even pulls out other romance novels with absolutely ridiculous titles to show her how they usually mark their books. Bianca insists she bought it there 3 days ago, but the old man swears he has never seen a title-like story of the Splendor Empire in his 40 years of selling books. He suggests maybe a thief swapped it, but that doesn't make sense. Why would a thief leave a priceless, magical prophecy book behind? Bianca leaves the store, confused and terrified. She tries to convince herself the story is just trash fiction. But as she walks away, her mind drifts to the plot again. She thinks about Sir Winsbury and the illegitimate daughter, Maria. Why would a perfect man like Ricardo fall for an illegitimate child and leave a high-status beauty like Bianca? Is the book a warning from the future, or is someone playing a cruel game with her? One thing is for sure, if she doesn't change the plot, she is dead meat. Tune in next time to see if she can survive the romance. We start this episode with a classic villainous dilemma, fashion. Bianca is getting dressed in a stunning red gown, and her maid, Panya, nervously suggests a pair of white corsage shoes to match. Now, usually, this would be the part where the evil noblewoman slaps the maid for such a bold suggestion, and judging by the panic on Panya's face, she expects exactly that. But Bianca pauses. Instead of flying into a rage, she wonders if this terrified girl actually has a better fashion sense than her. Bianca decides to let it slide for now, asking for black shoes instead, but the atmosphere in the room is heavy. She realizes that her entire staff is terrified of her. And why wouldn't they be? She admits she never made an effort to be nice because it is easier to control people when they are shaking in their boots. Being a villainess is lonely work, but hey, at least the wardrobe is top tier. Cut to a lovely dinner that feels more like a funeral. Bianca is dining with her fiancé, Ricardo, and Sir Winsbury. The old man is praising Ricardo for beheading 33 men on the battlefield. 33. Nothing says romantic dinner like discussing decapitations over steak. Bianca looks bored out of her mind. She spent 3 hours getting ready just to listen to war stories? Talk about a waste of makeup. The conversation inevitably turns to the most awkward topic possible, marriage. Sir Winsbury asks when the happy couple plans to tie the knot. Ricardo, being the emotional brick wall that he is, just shrugs and says eventually. Bianca realizes she has been waiting for years, through her debutante ball, through his war campaigns, until she turned 20, and he still hasn't proposed. She is basically a placeholder to him. Enough is enough. Bianca pulls Ricardo aside for a private chat. He looks completely uninterested, probably thinking she is going to nag him about wedding dates. He tells her to give him advance notice for the wedding so he can prepare. The audacity of this man. He assumes she is just dying to marry him. But Bianca looks him dead in the eye and asks if he really thinks they are getting married. Then, she drops the nuclear bomb. She tells him clearly, no, we are not getting married anymore. We are breaking off the engagement. Ricardo's stoic mask finally cracks. He looks confused, reminding her of the alliance between their families. But Bianca isn't having it. She is trying to save her own life here, and getting married to her future murderer is not part of the survival plan. To seal the deal, she decides to test if his personality matches the psycho from the novel. She brings up a specific detail from the book, a dog he raised as a child. Ricardo immediately gets suspicious, asking how she knows that. Bianca dodges the question, claiming she just heard rumors, but she knows she is treading on dangerous ground. She pushes the knife in deeper. She suggests that if they live together, they should get a dog of the same breed. This triggers him. Ricardo snaps, his eyes glowing with rage. He declares that no dog can ever replace his childhood pet and tells her she should never try to replace someone. The room practically shakes with his intensity. Bingo! He hates replacements. This confirms he is the same obsessive man from the book who will kill her for hurting his true love. Terrified by the confirmation, Bianca rushes back to her room to destroy the source of her misery, the book. She calls it a piece of crap and tries to rip it apart with her bare hands. But the book is indestructible. It won't tear. It won't even wrinkle. It is like it is mocking her. If brute force won't work, maybe fire will. She throws the accursed book into the fireplace and watches the flames engulf it. She waits 1 minute. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. She pulls it out, expecting ashes, but the book is perfectly fine. In fact, it looks even cleaner than before. It is officially a magical object of doom. Bianca realizes she is trapped. According to the book, Ricardo will meet the heroine, Maria, on St. George's Day, fall passionately in love, and then Bianca will die. She refuses to accept this fate. She is rich, beautiful, and high status. Why should she be the one to die? She resolves to find a loophole and survive, no matter what. She starts studying the book like it is for a final exam. She reads it 3 more times and realizes the book portrays her as a vain, abusive villainess who treats people like dirt. She looks in the mirror and admits, yeah, that is pretty accurate. She has been terrible to her staff. If she wants to change her fate, maybe she needs to stop acting like the villain the book says she is. The next morning, it is time to get ready again. The maids are terrified, expecting her to lash out. Bianca asks for a hairstyle and jewelry, but then she remembers the maid, Panya, from yesterday. The one who suggested the white shoes. Bianca decides to test the waters and asks for the white shoes she previously rejected. Panya freezes. She thinks she is being mocked or set up for punishment. She falls to her knees, begging for forgiveness, blabbering about her starving family. She says her mother died, her father is injured, and she has 5 siblings starving at home. It is a tragic backstory dump right in the middle of a dressing room. Bianca is stunned. She didn't ask for a sob story, she just wanted shoes. But instead of firing her, Bianca does something unexpected. She tells Panya to go collect a silver coin from the butler as a reward for her fashion advice. Panya breaks down in tears of gratitude, looking at Bianca like she is a guardian angel. Bianca is confused but goes with it. And just as she does this one good deed, the cursed book on the table starts to glow. Has the plot begun to change? The next step in Bianca's survival plan is information. She summons her butler and orders a background check on Maria Valona, the heroine of the cursed book. The butler looks confused. Why would a high-ranking noble lady care about a random commoner from a town called Encheny? But Bianca is thorough. She demands to know everything: her age, her appearance, if her mother is sick, and most importantly, her relationship with Sir Wensbury. But Bianca isn't done. She decides to do a little market research on herself. She asks the butler about her reputation. The butler immediately launches into praise mode, calling her the flower of high society, elegant, beautiful, and wise. Standard servant flattery. But Bianca cuts him off. She doesn't care about the public image. She wants the truth about her personality. Specifically, what do the servants really think of her? The butler freezes. He starts sweating bullets. He clearly didn't prepare for this question. He stammers out a weak lie that they all love her, but his face screams otherwise. Bianca sighs. She knows the truth. She is terrifying, and they are all just trying not to get fired or executed. She dismisses him, but not before dropping a bombshell. She tells the butler to give Panya, the maid from earlier, a silver coin as a reward. The butler is stunned. He probably thinks Bianca hit her head. He explains that Panya comes from a tragic background: dead mom, injured dad, 5 starving siblings. The classic sob story. Usually, Bianca wouldn't care, but this time, something shifts. She orders him to send Panya home with leftover bread too. Alone in her room, Bianca reflects on her situation. She realizes her personality is basically trash, just like in the book. If she wants to avoid being the villain who gets her head chopped off, she needs to change. Suddenly, the cursed book on the table starts glowing again. It seems her small act of kindness triggered something. She opens the book and her eyes widen. The text is changing right before her eyes. The original ending where she dies and Ricardo kisses Maria over her corpse is gone. The story has shifted. It seems her fate isn't set in stone after all. If she stops being a villain, maybe, just maybe, she won't have to die. The book reveals a heartbreaking detail from the original timeline. After her execution, no one visited her grave except for one person, a maid she had once shown a rare moment of kindness to. That maid placed a wildflower on her tombstone. Bianca realizes that even in her wretched first life, kindness was the only thing that left a mark. This confirms her new strategy: be nice, survive. Emboldened by this revelation, Bianca decides to go big. She calls for her carriage and announces she is going out to do a good deed. Her servants are baffled. The lady Bianca doing charity? It sounds like a joke. But she is serious. She demands her checkbook and plenty of cash. She is going to sponsor an orphanage, and she is going to make sure everyone knows about it. They arrive at a rundown orphanage. It is dirty, it is messy, and normally, Bianca would have turned her nose up in disgust. But today, she doesn't mind the grime. She spots a little girl running towards her and feels nothing. No disgust, no annoyance. Just a strange sense of purpose. A woman approaches her, asking who she is. It is a commoner, looking confused by the noble lady standing in the mud. Bianca introduces herself and demands to see the director. The little girl stares at her in awe, asking if she is a princess. Bianca, unable to resist a little ego boost, admits that yes, she is basically like a princess. The innocence of the child catches her off guard. She is actually enjoying this. The little girl grabs Bianca's hand to lead her inside. Her maid freaks out, yelling at the child for touching the noble lady with dirty hands. But Bianca surprises everyone again. She doesn't pull away. She looks at the dirty hand holding hers and realizes she doesn't mind it at all. She walks into the orphanage, hand in hand with a commoner child. Inside, she meets the director, Leanne Sparta. Bianca gets straight to the point. She is here to sponsor the orphanage. The director is shocked. A noble lady just waltzing in and offering money? It is unheard of. But Bianca has a condition. She is not doing this anonymously. She wants the director to spread the word that Lady Bianca Crawford is the generous sponsor. Posters, word of mouth, she wants the full PR package. The director is a bit confused by the request for publicity, but she is desperate. She agrees, tears in her eyes, saying the money will cover repairs and clothes for the children. Bianca feels a strange sensation in her chest. Is this happiness? Helping people actually feels good? Who knew? She writes the check, feeling like she just bought her way into heaven. As she leaves, feeling accomplished, she runs into someone unexpected. A tall, dark figure is standing in the orphanage yard. He is dressed like a commoner, but that glare is unmistakable. It is Ricardo. What is the Duke doing at a rundown orphanage in commoner clothes? And why is he looking at her like she just kicked a puppy? Bianca freezes. Her survival plan was going so well, but running into her future murderer in a secluded location was definitely not on the agenda.
The shock of the century continues. Bianca has just arrived at the orphanage to do her good deed, only to find her fiancé, Duke Ricardo, standing there looking like a commoner. And he is not happy to see her. He immediately gets defensive, asking what she is doing there and telling her she has no business being there. It is the classic misunderstood situation, but instead of asking politely, he jumps straight to accusations. Bianca is visibly offended. She is literally here to give away money and save orphans, and he is treating her like a trespasser. She wonders if running into her is really something to get so angry about. Does he think she is going to burn the place down? The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife, and Ricardo is looking at her like she is a plague. But then, a wild plot twist appears. The little orphan girl, Lala, jumps in to defend Bianca. She yells at the Duke, calling him a big dummy for getting mad at the princess. That is right, folks. The most feared swordsman in the Empire is getting scolded by a toddler. This is the power balance shift we didn't know we needed. Lala doesn't stop there. She threatens to put the Duke on the very, very naughty list. Ricardo looks completely baffled, unable to process being reprimanded by a child. Bianca, on the other hand, admits to herself that this is the safest she has ever felt around him. Who needs a royal guard when you have a sassy 3-year-old? They move the conversation to the director's office to avoid making a scene. Ricardo apologizes, explaining he thought she followed him there like a stalker. He reveals that this is a personal interest of his, and that he comes here often. The catch. The kids have no idea he is a high-ranking noble. They think he is just a skilled swordsman named Mr. Ricardo. That explains the budget cosplay outfit he is wearing. Ricardo explains that he teaches the boys swordsmanship so they can join the Knight's Order and make a stable living. It is a practical way to help them survive. Bianca notes that for a guy who usually says nothing, he has put a lot of thought into this. He is teaching them how to fish instead of just giving them fish. Bianca, showing a rare moment of curiosity, asks about the girls. Do they learn swords too? Ricardo admits he doesn't know much about their future. He says they usually get sent off to get married or find work in the city. Since they don't have skills, they end up working odd jobs. It is a grim reality check. As they talk, Bianca looks out the window and sees Lala blowing on her freezing hands while doing laundry in the cold. A pang of guilt hits Bianca. She realizes how unfair the world is. The boys get a chance to become knights, but the girls are stuck doing freezing manual labor just to survive. For a villainess who usually only cares about dresses, she is actually starting to feel bad for someone else. Bianca naively suggests that girls could become knights too. Ricardo gets serious. He shuts that idea down, not because he is sexist, but because he knows the truth. He tells her that handling a sword isn't a game. He describes the horror of war, the ruins, the death, and the wails of despair. He admits that he still has nightmares about the battlefield. Bianca looks at him and sees that his eyes are vacant, filled with a trauma she never noticed before. He isn't just a cold duke, he is a broken soldier. She realizes she has been so focused on her own survival that she never saw his pain. He confesses that teaching these kids is his way of atoning for his sins. He knows it is ironic to teach children to fight when he hates war, but it is the only skill he has to offer. He feels guilty for encouraging them to join the military, but he wants them to survive. This man is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. In a moment of pure instinct, Bianca reaches out and takes his hand. She immediately regrets it, panicking internally about what to say. She just wanted to comfort him, but now she is holding the hand of the man who is prophesied to kill her. It is a high-risk, high-reward move. Ricardo looks surprised, then softens. He says the magic words, "Thank you." Bianca freezes. She tried for years to be the perfect elegant duchess and got nothing. But today, she just acted like a decent human being, and he finally thanked her. It turns out, being nice is actually more effective than being a snob. Who knew? He tells her he feels like he saw a new side of her today. They both realize this is the longest conversation they have ever had without him trying to leave. It is a massive progress. The death flag is lowering, and the romance flag is slowly rising. Ricardo offers to escort her to the upcoming ball hosted by Sir Wensbury. This is huge. He is actually initiating a date. He mentions the invitation will arrive later, but the fact that he wants to go with her is a game changer. The prophecy book must be rewriting itself furiously right now. As they prepare to leave, Ricardo notices Bianca is flushed and asks if she has a fever. She stammers that she is fine and tries to run away, her heart pounding like a drum. But as she walks away, she feels his eyes on her. He isn't looking past her like he usually does. He is looking straight at her with an intense, focused gaze. Bianca asks herself, is this a good sign, or a bad omen? We are back with Bianca in the carriage, and the mood is grim. She has just received the investigative report on the heroine, Maria. And guess what? The book was right. Maria exists, she lives with a sick mother, and she is indeed the illegitimate child of Sir Wensbury. Every single detail from that cursed novel is coming true. Bianca realizes that if the background details are correct, then the ending must be true too. You know, the part where she gets decapitated? Talk about a motivation killer. But she isn't giving up yet. They arrive at the bookstore and she decides that if she can't change the past, she might as well prepare for the future. She walks in and demands books on war trauma, panic disorders, and psychological treatments. The bookseller looks at her like she is crazy, a noble lady reading medical texts. But then she spots the fairy tale section. Remembering that the orphan girl, Lala, saved her life with pure cuteness last time, Bianca decides to buy out the entire shelf of princess books. Being rich really solves everything. But just as she is feeling good about her shopping spree, look who shows up. It is Ricardo. Again. Seriously, do these two have a GPS tracker on each other? He claims he comes here often to practice sword fighting, which sounds like a terrible excuse to hang out at an orphanage, but okay. Ricardo mentions he bought some books too. Bianca, being the suspicious villainess she is, probably thinks he bought 101 Ways to Murder Your Fiancé. But before she can interrogate him, the little chaos gremlin, Lala, comes sprinting out of nowhere, almost tripping over her own feet. Ricardo catches the child effortlessly. Lala is beaming, calling Bianca a princess. And Bianca. She doesn't even deny it. She basically says, well, I am almost a princess. The ego on this woman is unbreakable, and honestly, we love her for it. Lala pulls Bianca aside for a secret whisper. She tells Bianca that if Ricardo gives her a hard time, she will put him on the naughty list again. This kid is the ultimate weapon. Lala claims she is super scary and decides to demonstrate her ferocity to the Duke himself. Lala unleashes her terrifying roar, which sounds more like a kitten sneezing. She thinks she is a tiger, but she is barely a hamster. She asks Ricardo if he is scared, and for a second, the tension is high. Will the cold Duke get annoyed? Miracle of miracles. Ricardo actually laughs. The man who usually has the emotional range of a teaspoon is laughing out loud. He tells the fierce tiger to stop bothering the princess. It seems the way to this man's heart isn't through elegance or power, but through a toddler pretending to be a wild animal. Lala, using her toddler logic, connects the dots. She saw a fairy tale where a knight saves a princess. Ricardo is a knight. Bianca is a princess. Therefore, they must be getting married. She asks the question that has been hanging in the air, does this mean you will get married? Bianca freezes. She remembers her fate as the villainess is death, not marriage. But Ricardo surprises everyone. He crouches down and tells Lala, perhaps. He even invites the kid to their potential wedding. Bianca stares at him in shock. Is he hitting his head? Or is the plot actually changing? Bianca confronts him immediately. She asks why he said that. She reminds him that he never seemed interested in marriage before. In the past, he always gave vague answers like possibly or perhaps, making it clear he didn't care one way or the other. She always thought he was indifferent, that he couldn't care less about her. But now, he is looking at her with a gentle smile, admitting that while he wasn't interested before, things are different now. He says he never said he wouldn't go through with it. Then he drops the line that changes everything. He looks her dead in the eye and says, I never once said I wouldn't marry you, Bianca. The look on his face isn't cold anymore, it is intense. Bianca is left speechless, her heart pounding. Is this the start of a real romance, or is he just playing with her emotions before the inevitable tragedy? We start with a chaotic scene. Lala, the little orphan, puts Bianca on the spot by asking her to read a book. Bianca tries to pass the task to her maid, but Lala drops a bombshell. She doesn't know how to read. Bianca is stunned. To a noble who probably learned Latin in the womb, this is shocking. Ricardo steps in to explain the harsh reality. He tells Bianca that most commoner children, especially orphans without parents to teach them, never learn to read. They are too busy trying to survive. It is a grim reminder that outside Bianca's bubble of luxury, basic education is a privilege, not a right. Bianca looks at Lala and realizes that the girl's confusing, illogical speech wasn't just cute toddler babble, it was a sign of neglect. She decides right then and there that she can't let this kid grow up like grass on the roadside. She is going to make sure Lala gets an education. But Bianca has her own problems. She pivots the conversation back to their relationship. She confronts Ricardo, admitting she thought he hated children. Ricardo clarifies he doesn't hate them, he just doesn't know how to interact with them unless they approach him first. He is socially awkward, not evil. It is time to leave, but the plot intervenes. Bianca's carriage horse refuses to move. It is completely stuck. Ricardo, seizing the opportunity, offers to escort her home in his own carriage. It is the perfect setup for a private conversation. Bianca notices something interesting about his carriage. It is plain and humble, with no fancy crests. She realizes he uses this incognito ride to visit the orphanage without alerting the public to his presence. He really is committed to his secret charitable life. Inside the carriage, the silence is loud. Ricardo breaks it by asking about the stack of books Bianca bought. She tries to brush it off as general reading, but he pushes. He has seen the titles, and they are not light reading. He reads them out loud: War Trauma, Soldiers After War, Panic Disorders. These are heavy subjects about healing broken soldiers. He asks if she enjoys reading about corpses. Bianca panics and lies, saying it is just academic curiosity, denying it has anything to do with him. But we all know she is studying to cure his PTSD. Ricardo falls silent. He admits that he feels like he saw a completely new side of her today. We then get a flashback to the garden, where Lala used her fairy tale logic to declare that since Ricardo is a knight and Bianca is a princess, they must get married. Instead of denying it, Ricardo played along. He actually asked Lala if she would come to their wedding. This shocked Bianca because up until now, he has been as enthusiastic about their engagement as a man walking to the gallows. Back in the carriage, Bianca confronts him. She asks why he said that to Lala. She points out that he always gave vague, non-committal answers like possibly or perhaps whenever marriage came up. She was convinced he couldn't care less about her. Ricardo gets real. He admits he wasn't interested in marriage before. He reveals his secret dream. After the horrors of war, all he wanted was to give up his title, leave the spotlight, and live a quiet, peaceful life in the countryside with a loving family. He explains that he thought this dream was impossible with Bianca. He assumed she was a typical high-maintenance noblewoman who cared more about the title of duchess than being a wife. He expected her to be power-hungry and arrogant, just like the rumors said. But today changed everything. Watching her care for the orphans, seeing her buy books to understand his pain, and witnessing her genuine kindness proved him wrong. He realizes he judged her based on her reputation, not her actions. He looks at her, and for the first time, the blurry image of his future wife becomes clear. It is Bianca. He takes her hand, his gaze intense and sincere. He apologizes for his past indifference and drops the line, "We have been waiting for." He says, "It is you." He tells her that his dream of a happy family feels possible now. The cold Duke has officially melted. He looks her in the eyes and says, "Let's begin our wedding preparations." This isn't just an arrangement anymore, it is the start of a real romance. Bianca has successfully avoided death and bagged the Duke.
We start with Bianca reviewing the background check on Maria, the supposed heroine who is destined to ruin her life. The report paints a picture of a tragic saint, fatherless, poor, ridiculed, yet bright and cheerful. It is the classic protagonist starter pack. Bianca realizes Maria's life has been set on hard mode from day one. The report gets even sadder. Maria had no options but manual labor, her financial situation never improved, and her mother worked herself to the bone until she got sick. Most people would become villains with this backstory, but Maria is out there nursing her mom with a smile. Bianca, who was prepared to hate her, finds her resolve crumbling. Instead of seeing a rival, Bianca sees her own maid, Panya. She realizes she can't kill someone who is just trying to survive and feed her family. The irony is thick here, the villainess is feeling more empathy than most of the nobles in this kingdom. She realizes that killing a sweet, innocent girl like Maria would actually make her a monster, and she is not about that life. Cut to the Wednesbury ball. Bianca arrives looking absolutely stunning in a green dress that screams money and power. The art team really went all out on this one. She is the main character of this fashion show, and she knows it. Lady Evelyn approaches her, full of compliments and curiosity. She brings up the rumors spreading around high society. Apparently, people are shocked that a Crawford, a family known for being cold and practical, is doing charity work. Evelyn looks at Bianca like she just grew a second head. Bianca plays it cool, calling it a personal interest. Evelyn praises her big heart, and Bianca internally laughs. She tells Evelyn to keep spreading the word. It is all part of the branding strategy, from villainess to saintess, one rumor at a time. Enter Ricardo, looking dashing as always. He smoothly joins the conversation, complimenting Evelyn and then turning his attention to Bianca. He mentions he has heard the rumors too. Bianca gets defensive. She knows the Crawford reputation isn't exactly charitable, so she expects him to be suspicious. Ricardo asks why she is interested in good deeds all of a sudden. His gaze is intense, trying to figure her out. Bianca's internal monologue is hilarious. She wants to say because I have a lot of money and I am trying not to die, but instead, she smugly claims she has always been a good person. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. Ricardo catches her off guard. Instead of mocking her, he smiles and admits he didn't know her very well. Then, he drops the bomb. He asks for a dance. The man who treats social events like a funeral is asking her to dance. The crowd goes wild, internally. They step onto the dance floor, and the gossip mill starts churning. Everyone is watching the perfect pair. Bianca is confused. She notes that Ricardo usually hates dancing, yet here he is, leading her into a waltz. As the music starts, Bianca realizes something strange. The orchestra is playing her favorite song. Is this a coincidence? Or did the cold Duke actually do some research? The plot thickens, and so does the romance tension. But Bianca has the attention span of a goldfish. She remembers she is here for a mission, to find out if Maria is Sir Wensbury's illegitimate child. She actually considers walking up to the host and asking, "Hey, did you have a secret affair with a maid?" Thankfully, she has enough common sense to realize that is a terrible idea. Ricardo notices she is distracted. He calls her name and asks what she is thinking about. Bianca deflects, but she notices something different. Usually, when they dance, he looks over her shoulder, completely disengaged. He treats her like furniture. But not tonight. Tonight, he is looking right at her. His eyes are locked on hers, and it is intense. Bianca is freaking out. She is used to the cold, distant fiancé, not this attentive, handsome man who is actually paying attention to her. The climax of the evening arrives. Ricardo leans in close and whispers, "You look beautiful today." Bianca's brain completely short-circuits. She stammers, unsure if she heard him right. The cold Duke just dropped a compliment. The romance route is officially unlocked, and Bianca is totally unprepared for it. After that intense dance floor moment, Bianca does what any sensible villainess would do, she runs to the bathroom to fix her makeup. The clapping from the ballroom is still echoing in her ears, but she needs a moment to breathe and process the absolute madness that just occurred. She stares at herself in the mirror, her heart pounding like a drum. She asks herself the million-dollar question, what on earth has gotten into Ricardo? She wonders if she looks so exceptionally beautiful today that he suddenly fell in love with her. It is a valid question, considering she is gorgeous. But then her rational brain kicks in. She reminds herself that she has been beautiful for the last 10 years of their engagement, and he never cared before. There is no way he would fall in love out of the blue. She convinces herself he is just confused or mistaken. Denial is a river in Egypt, and Bianca is swimming in it. She decides to head back out, hoping to get lost in the crowd and avoid him. But of course, luck is not on her side. Before she can even make a break for it, she hears his deep voice calling her name. It sends shivers down her spine, and not entirely the good kind. She thinks, what a bother, and tries to speed walk away. She doesn't get far. Ricardo grabs her arm, stopping her in her tracks. But just as the tension peaks, a wild challenger appears. A man with bright pink hair bursts onto the scene, complaining that they are ignoring him. He claims he is hurt, but he looks about as hurt as a puppy who got an extra treat. Bianca analyzes him instantly. Pink hair, violet eyes, traits that are exclusive to the royal bloodline. This isn't just some random noble, it is the crown prince of the Splendor Empire. Great, now we have royalty involved in this mess. Bianca immediately goes into formal mode, bowing and paying her respects to Crown Prince Asselblant. But Assel is having none of it. He tells her to drop the formalities and just call him Assel. He is clearly trying to flirt, acting all charming and casual, while Ricardo stands there looking like he wants to commit treason. Assel ignores Ricardo's death glare and asks Bianca the question of the hour, would you like to dance? He knows exactly what he is doing. Asking a lady to dance in front of her fiancé is a power move, and he is playing the I am the prince card to make it impossible for her to refuse. Bianca realizes she is trapped. You don't just say no to the future emperor unless you want a one-way ticket to the dungeon. She prepares to accept his hand, but Ricardo steps in. He formally greets the prince, but his tone is colder than a winter storm. Ricardo doesn't back down. He looks the prince dead in the eye and says, Bianca is my partner tonight. The possessiveness is off the charts. He is staking his claim right in front of royalty. The air in the room is so thick with tension you could cut it with a knife. The prince fights back with logic. He argues that according to custom, after the first dance, everyone is free to switch partners. He then pulls the guilt trip card, saying he rarely comes out to these events, so Ricardo should be more accommodating. He is basically saying, "I'm the prince, give me what I want." But Ricardo is a brick wall. He refuses. The prince then tries a blatant lie, claiming Bianca agreed to dance with him before Ricardo arrived. He reaches for her hand, trying to force the issue. Bianca is frozen, caught between a rock and a royal hard place. Ricardo calls his bluff. He points out that Bianca never accepted the offer. He turns to her and asks, "Isn't that right, Bianca?" He is forcing her to choose sides, but in a way that protects her from the prince's pressure. Then, Ricardo pulls out the ultimate weapon, a schedule. He informs the prince that he has been there for 53 minutes and was supposed to leave 18 minutes ago. He politely but firmly kicks the crown prince out of the party by reminding him of his other commitments. This man memorized the prince's schedule just to get rid of a romantic rival. That is dedication. The prince realized he has been outmaneuvered by a walking calendar, sighs and leaves. Bianca is relieved but also a little terrified by how efficiently Ricardo handled the situation. She decides it is time to escape and go home before anything else crazy happens. But Ricardo isn't done. He stops her again, offering his hand. He looks at her with a gentle smile that she has never seen before and says, "Shall we go, my dear fiancé?" Bianca's brain completely short-circuits. Fiancé. In 10 years, he has never called her that. She stammers, completely flustered. The cold Duke has officially entered his romantic era, and Bianca is not prepared. We pick up right in the middle of the shock. Bianca is standing there, eyes wide, completely processing the fact that Ricardo just called her his fiancé. It is a title she has held for 10 years, but hearing him say it with such possession feels like entering a parallel universe. She literally asks him to repeat himself because her brain refuses to accept this data. Ricardo confirms it with zero hesitation. He admits he has never addressed her like that before, but he has decided to start now. Bianca immediately starts analyzing his diet. She wonders if he ate something spoiled or if the cheap tea from the orphanage scrambled his brain cells. To her, food poisoning is the only logical explanation for this sudden romance. But the madness continues. Ricardo asks for a dance. Again. This is the third time. Bianca is genuinely concerned for his health now. She asks if he is alright because asking for 3 dances in a row is wildly out of character for the men who usually treat social events like a prison sentence. She calls him out on it, knowing he hates dancing. Ricardo admits he doesn't enjoy it, which begs the question, why are they still on the floor? Then he drops the jealousy bomb. He says, "Because if I don't dance with you, other men will." He gestures to the crowd, pointing out the vultures circling. He lists them off, the host's son, a bodyguard, and even an old count. He has been watching them stare at her the moment she stepped away from him. This isn't just a dance, it is a territorial display. He is basically marking his territory in front of the entire elite society. He asks if she has always been this popular. Bianca snaps internally. She screams in her head, "Why are you asking this now?" She lists her stats, beautiful, rich, influential. Of course she is popular. She has been the total package for years, and he is only just noticing because he finally decided to look at her. Then comes the banter. Bianca mentions he used to treat her like dirt on the streets. Ricardo corrects her with a smooth smirk, saying she was more like dirt in his pocket. He calls her his master who carries him around. Is this flirting? Is he roasting her? It is confusing, but the chemistry is suddenly off the charts. Bianca asks if he is angry. Ricardo leans in close, invading her personal space, and says he isn't angry. He asks why he would be angry at his master. This dynamic shift is insane. The cold Duke is playing games, and Bianca is struggling to keep up with this new, playful version of him. Ricardo admits this is the first time he has seen her angry, and he claims he has seen many new sides of her recently. He actually says it is fun learning new things about her. Bianca warns him that this is just the beginning, trying to maintain her tough exterior, but her walls are crumbling fast. And then, it happens. The moment that changes everything. Ricardo smiles. Not a smirk, not a polite grimace, but a genuine, bright smile. Bianca freezes. She realizes this is the first time she has ever seen him smile like that. It is a critical hit to her heart. The sight of his smile triggers a flashback. It takes her back to a memory of him when he was young and innocent, before the war broke him. Seeing that pure expression return makes her realize that the boy she once knew is still in there somewhere. It is a heavy emotional moment amidst the ballroom glitter. Bianca needs a break. She steps out for some fresh air and bumps into a new character. It is Reinhard Wensberry, the host's son. He welcomes her politely, but there is a nervous energy about him that feels completely different from Ricardo's intensity. Let's look at the lore on this guy. Reinhard is the heir to the Marquis title. He looks exactly like his father did in his youth, but their personalities are polar opposites. While his dad is stubborn and hardy, Reinhard is known for being docile and obedient. Basically, he is a soft boy in a world of hard nobles. Reinhard is acting super weird. He apologizes profusely for asking to see her in private, stuttering and sweating. He is terrified of disrespecting Ricardo's fiancé. He mentions he heard she went home early, which makes him sound like a stalker, but a polite one. Bianca assures him she is fine, but she is suspicious. Bianca starts analyzing him. Why is he so flustered? She recalls the rumors. Reinhard is 25 and still single. He was once engaged, but it fell through, and gossip says he has a crush on a Marquis's daughter. Bianca connects the dots and wonders, is she the Marquis's daughter he is crushing on? Is this a confession? She decides to confront him. She asks plainly why he wanted to see her. Reinhard takes a deep breath, admitting that what he is about to say is embarrassing. He says he trusts her because she is an exemplary figure. Oh, the irony. If only he knew she was trying to be a villainess a few days ago. Reinhard finally spits it out. He is not confessing his love. It is something much darker. He whispers the family secret that could ruin everything. There is a love child in my family. Bianca's eyes widen. This confirms the plot of the novel. Maria is indeed the illegitimate child of the Wensberry family. The drama just went from 0 to 100, and Bianca is right in the middle of it.
The atmosphere is thick with tension. Reinhard leans in and finally whispers the family secret that could ruin everything. There is a love child in my family. Bianca nearly chokes on her tea. This is the main plot twist. But before she can accuse him of being a secret player, Reinhard frantically waves his hands, screaming, "Don't get the wrong idea. It's not mine." He reveals the true culprit, his father, the Marquis. Apparently, the old man had a scandalous moment of weakness years ago. Reinhard actually admits he wishes it was his mistake instead of his father's to save the family honor. He explains that his father was injured in the countryside and got intimate with the maid who nursed him. It is the classic romance novel setup, but in real life, it is a disaster. Reinhard confirms the evidence is undeniable. They counted backward from the child's birth date, and it aligned perfectly with his father's recovery period. They tried to deny it, hoping the woman was lying, but then they saw the child's face. The Wensberry genes are apparently so strong they act like a DNA test. The resemblance confirmed it instantly. He drops the final blow. His father intends to adopt the child into the family, despite his mother's opposition. Bianca realizes this isn't just a rumor anymore. The heroine, Maria, is officially entering the noble stage, and nothing can stop it. Then, Reinhard asks for a favor that is dripping with irony. He reveals that Maria is already in the capital but lacks proper education. So, he turns to Bianca, the most elegant woman he knows, and asks her to help mentor this illegitimate child. He is unknowingly asking the villainess to train the very woman destined to destroy her. Bianca, trying to keep her composure, asks for the name just to be sure. Reinhard confirms, Maria Wensberry. Hearing that name out loud sends a chill down her spine. The character, Maria Valona from the book has officially become Maria Wensberry. The prophecy is coming true. Bianca's internal world collapses. She realizes the story is progressing, without an inch of error. Destiny is marching forward like a tank, and she knows exactly where this road ends. She stares into the void, and a terrifying vision grips her. She sees the ending of the book clearly, the guillotine. She realizes that Maria's arrival isn't just a scandal, it is the first step toward her own execution. The fear is real, and it pushes her toward a dark path. For a split second, a horrific thought crosses her mind: should I kill her? It is a simple solution, no heroine, no tragedy. But Bianca immediately shakes her head, horrified by her own mind. She realizes she is slipping into the role of the true villainess. She pulls herself back from the edge. She remembers Ricardo's trauma from the war, the blank stare, the nightmares. She realizes that using bloodshed to solve her problems would only make her a monster and turn her life into a living nightmare. She decides she won't use violence to survive. Instead, she comes up with a brilliant, non-violent loophole. What if I prevent them from meeting? If Ricardo and Maria never meet, they can't fall in love. And if they don't fall in love, the tragic ending never triggers. It is the perfect plan. She checks the calendar and identifies the critical date, St. George's Day. In the original novel, this is the exact day Ricardo and Maria meet at the festival and fall in love at first sight. This is the D-Day she must block at all costs. Her strategy is simple: Operation Human Shield. She decides to occupy 100% of Ricardo's time on that day. She approaches him and asks, "Could you spend the entire day with me?" She figures if she is glued to his side, he literally won't have the line of sight to see the heroine. Ricardo looks honored, perhaps even happy, but then he drops the rejection. "I already have a previous engagement." Bianca's heart stops. A previous engagement on the most romantic day of the year? Her panic sets in immediately. Has the plot accelerated? Is he meeting Maria now? She demands to know who he is meeting. Ricardo quickly explains, "I promised the children at the orphanage I'd take them to the festival." Bianca deflates. It is not a secret lover, it is a field trip with toddlers. She was jealous of a bunch of orphans. Bianca realizes this is actually perfect. A busy Duke is a distracted Duke. She immediately pivots and asks to join him. Ricardo smiles, genuinely touched by her kindness. Bianca thinks she has won the game. She gets to play the saint and keep him away from Maria. Fast forward to the festival. Bianca expects a romantic stroll with some kids in the background. Instead, she steps into a war zone. The crowd is massive, the noise is deafening. Rumble, bustle. It is absolute chaos. Bianca stands there, horrified. She is surrounded by commoners, shouting, and the smell of cheap food. This isn't a date, it is a survival mission. She looks at Ricardo, then at the screaming children, and realizes she might have made a terrible miscalculation. Can she maintain her elegance, and keep Ricardo away from Maria, in this madness?